Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a topic that, can feel a little intimidating, blood clots. But here's the thing. Understanding them isn't about being scared, it's about being empowered. Seriously, the knowledge we're about to go over could literally help you save your own life or maybe the life of someone you love.
So, here's a quick look at what we're covering. We'll start with what a clot actually is and why it's so dangerous. Then, we'll get into the really crucial stuff, the warning signs for your heart and for your brain. After that, we'll look at personal risk factors and wrap it all up with 4 key things you can do for prevention. Let's jump in.
Okay, so the word clot, yeah, it can sound genuinely scary. But the very first step in taking away that fear is just understanding what's actually happening inside your body. So let's demystify this thing.
Let's make this super simple. Just imagine your entire circulatory system is this big network of pipes. A blood clot, it's basically like a small stone or a bit of debris that gets stuck in one of those pipes. And that blockage, that's what causes all the trouble.
And this is not some rare, obscure medical issue. I mean, look at the statistic. It's pretty staggering. Blood clots are a factor in 1 out of every 4 deaths across the entire globe. That's why knowing the signs isn't just, interesting health trivia. It is absolutely critical, life-saving information.
So, when we're talking about a blood clot, what's the one thing that matters more than anything else? It's time. Every single second counts. The faster someone can get to an emergency room, the better their chances are for a full recovery. Your ability to spot these signs fast, that is the key.
All right, let's zone in on our first critical area, the heart. When a clot blocks an artery that's supposed to be feeding your heart muscle, that's a heart attack. And the symptoms, well, sometimes they're dramatic, but other times they can be surprisingly subtle. The classic sign, of course, is that feeling of pressure or pain right in the chest. But you've got to pay attention to where that pain goes. It often spreads. You know why? The nerves from your heart and your arm actually send signals along the same pathways to your brain, so your brain can get confused about where the pain is really coming from. So if that pressure moves to the shoulder, jaw, arm, or your back, and you also feel short of breath or break out in a cold sweat or feel dizzy, those are major red flags. You need to act immediately. Now, let's switch gears and look at what happens when that blockage happens up in the brain. This is what we call a stroke, and its warning signs are very, very different from a heart attack.
With a stroke, the big word to remember is sudden. These symptoms just hit you out of nowhere. And think about one-sidedness. A sudden weakness or numbness in the face or an arm or a leg, but just on one side of the body. Other signs are sudden confusion, real trouble speaking, sudden vision problems, a headache that feels like the worst one of your life, or a sudden loss of balance. If you see any of these, you have to think stroke.
And I really can't overstate the urgency here. That clot is literally starving brain cells of oxygen. For every single minute that treatment is delayed, more brain tissue dies, and that loss is permanent. It can lead to things like paralysis, memory loss, just devastating consequences. When it comes to a stroke, time isn't just money, time is brain function.
So let's just quickly put them side by side to make it clear. For a heart attack, think crushing, that crushing chest pain, that shortness of breath. For a stroke, think sudden deficit, that sudden weakness on one side, that sudden trouble with speech or vision. Knowing the difference can help you give much clearer info to first responders, and that saves time.
Okay, so we've covered the what. Now let's talk about the who, because certain things can unfortunately make a person more likely to form these dangerous clots in the first place.
Let's run through the big ones. First up is something called atherosclerosis. That's just a fancy term for when your arteries get hard and plaque builds up, which creates a rough surface where clots love to form. Some heart conditions, like an irregular heartbeat, can also raise your risk. Then you've got lifestyle factors, diabetes, obesity, and especially smoking, which is just incredibly destructive to your blood vessels. And yeah, things like high levels of bad LDL cholesterol and even certain medications, like some birth control pills, can play a role too. And that brings us to the most empowering part of this whole explainer. Look, knowing your risks is one thing, but actually doing something about them, that's everything. This is how you take back control.
These 4 steps right here, this is your foundation for a healthier circulatory system. Number 1, know your numbers. Get your cholesterol checked. Number 2, manage your weight with healthy food and exercise. Number 3, just keep moving. Seriously, even if you work at a desk, just getting up and walking around keeps that blood flowing. And finally, number 4, the single biggest thing you can do for yourself is to quit smoking. Period.
So we end right back where we started with the power of knowledge.
You now know what a blood clot is. You know the different red flags for a heart attack versus a stroke. And you know the steps you can take to lower your risk. You have the information. The only question left is the one that really truly matters. In that critical moment, will you act?